You're watching the Bucs Bonus pregame show on News Channel 8, your official Bucs station. Here's J.P. Peterson.
Hey, if you come to the city of Philadelphia, folks, you got to take the Freedom Trail, go by Independence Hall. I took my young son, Cullen, there today. He's a big George Washington fan. He got to sit in George Washington's seat, eat lunch where George Washington ate lunch. It's a wonderful, wonderful experience. And it can get a bit emotional, I can tell you that as well. Welcome back to Philly. The atmosphere is starting to build here. The fans are being let in the link for the first time for a regular season game. But right now, let's go back to our Tampa studio where Dave Reynolds and Dan Lucas are standing by. Talk a little bit about the tough job it will be to repeat as Super Bowl champions. Guys?
All right, thanks a lot, JP. Yes, we're back here in the studio, and the Bucs, a really interesting matchup tonight, Coach, against Philadelphia. You would think the chips already stacked against them for repeating as a Super Bowl champion, but you've had a little experience yourself at what it takes coming off a championship, and you've spoken with coaches and coaching staffs in the past. So tell us a little bit about that journey the next year.
You know, Dan, as a coach, you know, when you win a big one like that, the first thing you're going to do is, I mean, I'm serious. You're on the plane on the way home. Your head is already moving ahead to the next season. How are we going to do this? What's my approach going to be? I talked to a lot of different people. I talked to the Chuck Knowles staff and a lot of different staffs that have been to the Super Bowl. And here's basically what I found out and what I think. Chuck Knowles was a guy, and you know, he won 4 of them. I mean, you know that, Dan. He won 4. He said, we're going to do everything exactly the same. We're not going to change a thing. We've been successful doing what we've done. We're going to stay right there, and that's exactly what he did through those 4 great Super Bowl seasons. Here you see Bradshaw and all the great players they had, and that was a lot of fun for all the people at Pittsburgh, certainly. Now, you know, the next guy I go to, and here you still see the Steelers.
Right. How about Mike Holmgren?
Mike Holmgren was... he took the approach, I'm going to be much, much tougher on the players. I'm going to be more demanding. We're not going to let this thing slip. And, of course, he did get back to the Super Bowl, but did not win it. Okay, I went on from there, and I talked to some of the Bobby Ross staff. And Bobby basically tried to do everything the same way, but, you know, his team was totally dismantled that year, and he really had no chance to go on. They did get to the playoffs, but he really had no chance to advance from that point on.
What about a guy like Brian Billick?
Yeah, I talked to Brian Billick's staff. They were a much better football team. They were much improved at quarterback, but you know what? He could not. He tried to be much tougher on the players, Dave, but it just somehow didn't work there, and they never did get back. Now, the interesting thing with John Gruden is he was, and I know this for me, he was on the plane on the way back, and he was making notes to my video staff. I want you to start on this tomorrow. I want the coaches to do this tomorrow. I mean, how can you get more intense than this guy? What do you do? Get up at 1 in the morning to go to work? I mean, how do you get more intense than John Gruden? He has tried to be tougher on everybody, but I'll tell you what, he's a very demanding guy on the players and the coaches. That's why he's successful.
All right, Coach, sounds good. Thank you very much.
Coach, thanks a lot. And coming back, Coach gives us his thoughts on the Bucs, what they might do tonight. We'll go back to J.P. Peterson coming up after this. J.P.?
All right, guys, thanks a lot. Some interesting insight there on what it's going to take to repeat. Now, I got to say there was probably no bigger moment in this town than what happened about 7.5 months ago just across Patterson Avenue at the Vet on that fateful Sunday afternoon. The hopes and dreams of Bucs fans were hanging in the balance as the Eagles were driving late in the game to make it a 3-point game as the Bucs were hoping to set sail for San Diego. Tonight we share the final championship moment with the co-host of Sunday Sports Extra, Ronde Barber.
Fires, and it's intercepted. It is intercepted. Running with the football and seemingly with the game down the right sideline is Ronde Barber all the way into the end zone for a touchdown.
What was the feeling like?
It's an impossible feeling to describe. I try to go back and remember what it was like, but, you know, moments like that in your mind happen in such slow motion when it happened. It's just, you don't want to ever take that away from you. You don't ever want to go back and say, man, it was like this or it was like that. Man, it was a great moment. For me, it was a monumental point in my career. I look back 10 years from now and say, I remember that one play.
I mean, they were running a 2-minute offense. They were moving the ball, you know, and we was like, just break it up, just break it up. And when Ronde picks the ball off, I think everybody that was down on the end watching the play go ran with Ronde down our sideline. I think we were almost in the end zone with Ronde by the time he got down there.
Tell me I ain't the best. Tell me I ain't the best. Tell me I ain't the best. Tell me I ain't the best.
Right there. Think you who, baby? You're a bad bitch. Secondary in football now. Who's that secondary in football?
I was right with him, stride for stride, man. You know, Ronde shows blitz. Obviously, Donovan thought he was in the charge and threw the ball quickly without seeing Ronde undercut the quick out by the slot receiver. And, you know, when you look at that play from the sideline and you hear the silence in the crowd, and the amount of joy being expressed on our sideline, that was the play I'll never forget in my coaching career. That was my favorite play of all time.
Kicked it off, and with that, many dreams may have crashed.
Crash and burn. Eagles moving the ball with ease.
The total silence.
Yeah.
And I shared this. I wish everyone in Tampa could have been on the field to see the quietness of that stadium at that point. We heard a few cheers from our bench and a few Buccaneers fans that were there. But I just remember the total silence and seeing Ronde run, just hoping he don't fall down. I was like, don't fall, just run, and just looking around and seeing just surreal. Yeah, it was a feeling. You see a lot of unbelief. You just saw on the fans and on the other players that they just couldn't believe that, you know, their team wasn't going to win that game.
It was a good feeling because it was the first time that day that you knew the game was sealed, that the game was over.
It was one of my better games, probably my best game personally. A lot of the coaches said so afterwards, and you know, I was fortunate enough to make one.
Well, you can tell the Eagles fans will never forget that moment, and they are here tonight to exact some revenge. We'll see if it happens in kickoff at 9:07. There's a shot you might see on the broadcast tonight. Now, don't forget, Bucs fans are also getting ready for tonight's game. We're going to check in with our tailgating crew in the West Chase Hood when we come back.